I'm happy to introduce Leandro Lages. He is the Director of Software Engineering at Delivery Hero in Berlin. Leandro will be telling us some hidden skills that every software engineer should have. So, welcome. I'm glad you could join us.
Thanks, Isadora.
Hi.
It's a pleasure for me, and I'm very happy to be here. Right, I prepared a small presentation to guide through the next 20 minutes, and basically, what I'd like to talk about today is the hidden skills that every software engineer should have. And basically, it's not about the hard skills. I believe the hard skills actually it's a no-brainer. We all should have, but at the same time, is not the only thing that we should have, right? So basically, who am I? I've been working in the industry for more than 20 years. I'm originally from the north of Brazil, a city called Belém. I've been living in Berlin for the last 7 years, working at Delivery Hero for the last 3 years. Exactly today, I'm making like 3 years Delivery Hero, so very, very happy to be here. And I've been working as a director of software engineering, leading 5 teams with 25 plus engineers in my group. And what is my motivation today to talk about those hidden skills? It's basically my own career growth, and in combination, also the last 5 years, I believe our industry changed a lot in terms of expectations for the software engineers itself. And basically, in the last 5 years in Delivery Hero, I actually had a growth in my career, and I wish that I knew a little bit more about those hidden skills before. As you see, like I had a steady growth over 15 years, and I believe that I navigated this wave of the transformations that happened the last 5 years, and helped me to shape my career, right? So, and I think the change to a more leadership position, people management position, the fact that I was involved in hiring processes, in defining what are the roles, what are the expectations that are now needed for engineers, helped me to actually navigate and create those basically hidden skills, right? You know that our industry changed a lot. Engineer management, staff engineer. We have so many now roles that are well defined. I believe the access of capital also created a lot of startups in the last 5 years, generating a lot of positions to the tech industry. So there was a need to actually define what are the engineering career growth looks like, right? And basically, today also if content became a commodity, we basically have a lot of newsletters around, a lot of topics about leadership or how individual contributors should behave in their career. And one of the motivations that I saw while hiring people, while forming teams, is that our industry is not moving in the same level in terms of career growth. The engineers itself, they are lacking of those skills. And I believe those skills, while they are not needed because the engineers with the hard skills, they can still have a steady growth. If the engineers want to actually potentialize and like amplify their career growth, I believe they should have, right? And basically this is basically the agenda. I'd like to talk about 4 skills. One of them is introspection, decision-making, collaboration, and resilience. Those 4 skills, I'd like to talk individually from each one of them. And basically, let's start with retrospection, right? And for each one of the skills, I'd like to tell what they are, why they are important, and where to apply on your career. And basically, what is retrospection? Without retrospection, you cannot self-reflect, right? The fact that you can self-reflect, and you shouldn't self-reflect every year or every 6 months, you should every day be this self-reflection, or what your career want to be, what are the weakest points that you have, what are your blind spots, what are the points that you need to actually improve. and will help you to create also the ability to find missing opportunities. Right? Sometimes without this retrospection, you can just jump into a career, take a task, execute, take a task and execute, but you actually don't grow your career so much, right? Because you're not constant self-reflection. And why this is important? Because it's going to speed up the feedback loop about what are the things that maybe are missing in your career. It's going to enable a growth mindset. This is also something that I believe engineers should have, right? So where are my points where I should grow? I should never be satisfied from the things that I know today, mainly because our industry is so much complex, right? It's quite impossible over the life of your career to actually know everything, right? So also all the companies, they have different business needs, and every business, the same things that you learned might not apply in the other one, right? And also it's important because it creates a habit of motion on yourself over passiveness, which means you're not on a passive approach. You actually need to move yourself to actually find those opportunities and so on. And this retrospection on an individual level is very important. And where you can apply, of course, to define a clear career growth for yourself instead of just let it go, right? And let's see where I go. It's going to help you to define where I want to be like 1 year or 2 years from now, right? So what are my possibilities? Not necessarily need to define where you go, but basically what are your possibilities, right? And you learn on the way where you pave your path. Basically, it's going to help on your performance reviews, right? I believe one of the changes in our industry today is basically most of the companies are creating performance reviews, and basically that's a way to actually create awareness and growth between everyone. Yeah, it's going to help set clear expectations for yourself when you work in a company. And last but not least, will help you a lot on interview processes. One observation from my side is a lot of people, they don't retrospect about like the hidden skills or the soft skills that they need. Usually they think that they know the technical part because they did A, B, and C. But sometimes it's not about the hard skills, it's about the soft skills that you have, right? And the fact that you are aware, that you retrospect about all those skills together, it will help you actually to have better interview processes. Today, the industry don't want only people who actually wants to code, but also how to move the business forward and create impact. And of course, this connects with the second skill that I mentioned here, which is decision making. Decision making helps you to focus on why I'm doing something, right? If you don't retrospect and if you don't like know how to make a decision why I'm doing or why I'm facing a problem, you might just be busy all the time, running tickets, going different direction. But actually, if you don't retrospect, if you don't know how to make a decision, you don't know which is the way that you are going. So if you focus on the why you are doing things, this is very important for a software engineer today, not only being a comfort zone of basically be doing what it's being told to do, right? And it's going to help you to be outcome oriented. So basically, yes, I make a decision because I want to have impact. I don't want to make a decision because I want to play with technology A, B, and C. It's all about the impact that you generate on the decision making that you do. And of course, you're going to learn how to mitigate risks, which basically means your ability to define what are the pros and cons. And when you reflect on the why, when you learn how to make a decision, when you create your own framework to make a decision, you start mitigating the risks, right? Sometimes you just define what are the pros, we don't see the cons. And over time, when the cons affect us, we don't know what to do. And we go to a more reactive mode because we never discuss the cons, right? Sometimes it's very important when you're making decisions to actually mitigate the risks. Why this is important? Because it's going to give you business context. It means that basically it's not about, as I said, I implemented 10 tickets today, so I'm doing good, right? Sometimes it's better to implement one ticket and has a huge business impact that actually being the whole day busy and delivering something that maybe don't have a business impact, right? So your ability to actually making decisions will help you to focus on the most important things. And for that, by design, you're going to actually know how to have business context. You're going to understand the context where you are. It's going to enable yourself a more strategic mindset, which means you're also focused on the medium long term, not only in the short term of the things that you have to do. And we, of course, helps you to take context into account. What does it mean? It means that maybe you made a solution to solve a problem on a specific context, but maybe a few weeks later or years later, you face the same problem in a different context. Not necessarily the decision that you made before will actually apply to this one, right? So it's going to also help you in this ability to actually know your tools, identify the context, think where are the pros and cons, and actually make a decision. So yeah, where decision making will help you, right? On team interactions, when you talk to product managers, stakeholders, usually they are not very tech savvy oriented, or they are more business oriented. An engineer can help a lot the product owners and product manager stakeholders to actually identify what is the impact of the technology that is behind. Right? It's going to help you on backlog prioritization. Maybe you have 10 things to do. What's going to be our most impactful thing? Sometimes we just prioritize based on what is easy or what is next or what we know, right? But in the end, it's about the business. It's about the impacts. This skill will also help you on how to prioritize the things that you have to do as a team. And of course, it's going to upskill some of your technical skills about architecture and code design. We cannot architect or design a codes without a context, without a business context behind. So it's very impossible to say this architecture is good or this code is good or not if you don't know what is your business context. In the end, it's going to upskill yourself also when making those decisions. Collaboration is the third hidden skill that I'd like to talk about. So what is the collaboration itself? Basically, software engineering is a social activity, right? Learning alone, just going to tutorials, it's going to speed up your technical skills. But in the end, social engineering, you are going to be part of a team. And this team needs to basically know how to work together. You cannot form teams of one person only unless you are a solo person, right? Which is fair. But in the end, if you want to go to a software engineer and go and work on the biggest companies or startups, you need to look into software engineer as a social activity, right? Which means collaboration is key. You cannot live in an isolator. You cannot only be the only person in a team that knows everything if you're not upskilling your team members and peers with yourself. And this also has to do with the ability to produce outcome working as a team. So imagine if I have a team where just half of the team is able to produce outcome, the other half is basically struggling. And I believe that you as an engineer, you need to have the ability to actually standardize the knowledge across the team. And this will also enable the other skill, which is communication, right? How are you going to communicate as a team? And basically, yeah, mid-levels, beginning of career, senior engineers, they should all work as a team and grow together over time. Why this is important? As I mentioned also, it's gonna, the knowledge sharing about the business, about what the team scope is, will actually be speeded up. You don't create bus factors, you actually move even the business faster. As we are also delivering value faster, right? So I just talk about that. When you work as a team, actually you're going to deliver value faster. Imagine if you have a team of 5 people and you have like 10 things on your backlog and you just give one thing for each one of the team members because you have that sense that let me parallelize so I can deliver values faster. In the end, you are not delivering faster, you are starting faster. In the end, the collaboration is missing because in the end, you need to go through different steps like code review, guarantee quality assurance, and get a faster feedback loop. So the more you work together, the more you collaborate together, the more value you're going to deliver. And of course, if you're working as a team and if you're collaborating, you're going to be finding bottlenecks over time sooner. And if you remove them, you're going to have a way to efficiently tackle them. Sometimes you might get, if you're not very collaborating the team, your team is very individual, you're going to find your bottlenecks very late. And bottlenecks will always exist. You just need to find them as soon as possible and as a team face them, right? So that's one of the reasons why collaboration is key. Where this is basically applied, of course, any team setup, right? Mainly when you're dealing with complex topics that you don't know what success look like, where you need to do discovery to find where I'm gonna go. Sometimes it's also good, even when you are working individually. Sometimes this happens. Of course, you cannot just work as a team all the time, but sometimes escalation, when you are individual, you are working something, if you get stuck, you need to collaborate with someone, right? And getting a second opinion will help you on tests that are not progressing, right? And of course, it's going to enable pair and mobile programming, which is some things that the industry is moving a lot with extreme programming and other topics. If you are interested to go deeper, basically it's that social part where basically why we plan together, why we create roadmap together, why we do refinement together, but why not we code together, right? Usually we do everything as a team together, but when you go to code, we do alone. So that's something that the industry realized that the more time you work together, the more efficient we are. Last but not least, this is basically the last skill that I'd like to talk today, which is resilience. Resilience has to do with bias for action. It has to do with how I deal with circumstances that are not ideal. It has to do with you dealing with frustration. When you work in big companies or in small companies, it doesn't matter. It's never going to be perfect. And you can actually be a professional where you wait everything to be perfect so you can actually work, or you can be parts of the transformation that is required. So in that case, resilience helps you to actually have a bias for action. Let me do things instead of waiting for the things to be perfect. Will help you to overcome obstacles, and will help you to deal with frustration. Deal with frustration does not mean you cannot be frustrated. Dealing with frustration means how long time are you spending my frustration, and how are you actually pick my frustration to actually transform into actions to exactly solve the problem that I'm facing right now. And why resilience is important? As I said, perfect structure doesn't exist. So in your career, you're gonna most likely face non-perfect places. And if you are just waiting for the things to be perfect, actually you are not gonna grow because things will not be perfect. It enables creativity. Why is that? Yes, I face a problem right now. So basically, I need to find a way. And sometimes you don't know how to find a way. And if you use collaboration, if you use retrospection, if you know how to make a decision, basically you can be creative and try to find something out of the box for you, right? And of course, also improves your communication, because in the end, you retrospect, you make a decision, and you actually collaborate. And for that, communication is really important. So resilience will enable also your communication. Where to apply? I believe that resilience, the most source of frustration that I see in the industry is where you're running projects that are cross team, where you need to deal with people that maybe you don't deal on a day-to-day basis. Basically, those cross-team projects where you're gonna wait for the orders and make assumptions. Things will not be perfect. So yeah, in those kind of projects, resilience is applied. Somehow, top-down decisions, you don't have any kind of influence on some decisions. They just come for you, and you have to obey them. In that moment, the frustration always can come. But yeah, it's time where you can actually take action and be creative and actually move forwards with that, right? So the resilience is quite important. And of course, in damage control situations, sometimes you're facing an incident, sometimes there is something that was not expected, and you can just give up, or you can actually try to damage the control by being resilient, by taking actions, by collaborating, by making a fast decision and doing retrospection. That was the fourth hidden skill. So some final considerations, right? I think it was clear that everything is interconnected. Retrospection, the decision-making, resilience, collaboration, they are all a circle. You cannot have one without the other. And those four skills, they are non-exhaustive. There is so many other skills that surround those four, like communication and so on. And basically, at least in this helped me a lot on my career. And I wish that our industry would have awareness that those skills are very important. They are a foundation for your technical skills. The technical skills are still the most important ones, are the ones that will make the difference. But you should build those technical skills on top of a great foundation, right? And those four skills below, they helped me shape my career, and I believe that I'd like to contribute to the industry by raising awareness of them. That's basically it. Thank you very much for the time. You can reach me out in LinkedIn if you'd like to chat more about them, but happy also to answer questions right now if you have some.
If anyone has any questions, you can talk on the comments on the Q&A. And thank you so much, Leandro, for talking and giving this presentation. I think I learned a lot as well.
Sure, it was a pleasure for me. Thanks, Cesar.
I think if there are any questions, it's going to pop up here. I guess no questions for now. Okay. Oh, okay. There's a question. What is your favorite language to work with?
Tricky question, right? Great question, Sofiane. The language that I most like to work with is the one that will solve the right problem to do, right? And it depends on the context, as I said. But I can tell you the language that I basically was built, my whole career was PHP, a backend language, right? And I know that PHP in the industry is not seen as a great language over time, a lot of hackies and so on. But in the end, it does the job. It does the job, right? I still would consider PHP for a lot of use cases, and I would never discard because of personal taste, right? I believe that the professionals in our area that just blame languages, they actually don't have those hidden skills that I just mentioned that basically are needed. In the end, it's not about the language, it's about your skills that you build, right? So PHP is a nice language. Of course, there are specific use cases where to use it. And I also like Node.js, Java, Python. I actually don't like so much Ruby, but it's a personal taste. I think Ruby does the job a lot. You have very successful companies with Ruby behind the scenes. And the ability of design your code is even more important than the language, because crappy codes or crappy design you can build in any language. And your ability to know how to design code, it's what really matters in the end. Cool. Thanks for the question.
I actually have another question as well, going off on this question. So you think, for example, to be hired, do you need to be good at one specific language? And then if you're like you said, you're good at coding this language and doing good code, do you think then you can be hired just knowing one language, or more than one would be better? I mean, it would be better, but
Yeah, it's a great question. It really depends where you are applying. The industry is very diverse and big, and every company has a different maturity as well on their hiring process. So today we have companies, for example, where they actually want people to be like, let's say, Node.js. And usually they build the hiring process totally on the technical skills of Node.js. And sometimes you might hire someone who knows how to do Node.js, but they don't know how to collaborate. They don't know how to retrospect, how to make a decision, how to be resilient. In the end, they will not succeed. So the language will not actually be the one that will move you to the long term. There are companies who actually want to have software engineers. They usually put like 4 languages and say if you are good enough in these 4 languages, you can actually be hired. In the end, you should focus more on how to strengthen your coding skills agnostic of the language. And the coding skills and understanding a little bit like solid patterns, clean code, clean architecture, those topics, they are agnostic of languages, and they are more important to know than the language. Because if you just go to the language, you cannot use the language properly using the things that are actually needed. And yeah, that's basically it. Overall, answering the questions, yes, you can be hired if you know the language, but that's most likely is not going to be the only thing that make you move. The number of languages you know, right? The other topics actually they will actually be the ones that will move the needle. And if you know one language very well, and you know all these clean architecture, clean codes, solid patterns, you're going to learn all the languages quite fast. I would say, because it doesn't change much on that sense. I think this question was already asked in before about top skills. And
I see
video
another question here from Anita. She says, if you could introduce or recommend one new process practice to the tech teams, what would it be?
Great questions. Great questions. I would like to answer this question in a different way. I would like to tell which is the process that I wouldn't take as granted. And what I mean by that, right? I believe our industry today is there is this trend and this hype on agility, what agile really means. And some people might just say that I'm doing Scrum and I have stand-ups, I have retrospectives, I have sprint reviews, and I have burn down charts and so on. And when you do that, you don't focus so much on the value that you're delivering. You focus a lot on the process, and you actually have the feeling that the process is the goal, not the value that you're delivering. So one practice that I believe teams should do is exactly what I mentioned. Let's actually be more program. Let's work more together. Let's communicate more. And one practice that I log is extreme programming. If you read extreme programming, it talks about agility, it talks about collaboration, it talks about how to deliver value in small increments. And that ability is a skill as well. And I consider that a hard skill, not a soft skill. How can I actually deliver value in increments? How can I speed up my feedback loop? And this is what agility is. So I really recommend the book Accelerate, and every research on top of that. I believe this book was a game changer for our industry today. It talks about engineering productivity. In the end, it treats engineering as a pipeline of delivery, and you cannot achieve this pipeline of delivery without collaboration, without working small, without thinking about the value itself and the why behind. And usually, of course, Scrum is just a tool that will enable that, but it's not the end goal. And I believe our industry today, at least from interviews, I see a lot of people, yes, I do retrospective, I do stand-up, I do everything, but when you actually go deeper and ask what is the value of the stand-up, how do you know stand-up's not delivering value? People don't know how to answer this question, because usually they are focused on the process. So yeah, that's going to be my answer to this question.
Nice, thank you. And there, I think one more question. It's gonna pop up there.
Yeah, great question as well. I believe the biggest advice that I give to you is don't focus on the technical things. Focus more on what is surrounded the language itself, as I mentioned, clean architecture, clean code design, and of course on your communication skills that will enable basically retrospection, decision making, resilience, and collaboration. I think those aspects, the ability to give and receive feedback as well, it's something very important. And my advice, I believe we have a lot of content in our portal for Delivery Hero regarding how to prepare for the interview, what success looks like. And I believe we also have a lot of content about what is our culture in terms of what we expect in terms of architectural guidelines, reliability, and it's public. And I believe the mindset that we are staying there is a mindset that also will help you to join Delivery Hero as a company, right? Because you have the content that is needed for you to upskill yourself to be part of the hiring process.
Okay, this is the last question. So
Mm-hmm. I'm currently working as a fraud analyst. Yes, there is. I believe that's a very great question because in the end, security is one of the things that became trend in our industry today. I believe maybe 5, 10 years ago, the security was a little bit side aspects on software engineering. Today, you see a lot of security positions open in different aspects. Data protection, privacy is a trend topic in our industry today. And I believe you, as a fraud analyst, you're going to work a lot with engineers who mainly work with payments and fintech, how to analyze basically payments that could be a fraud and so on. So there is parts of software engineering that treats security as a technology, as a skill, and you as a fraud analyst, you can just jump into security in software engineering in general and be specialized there. And there is a lot of open positions on this today. We build APIs, we build systems, all of them needs to have security aspects in place that needs to be implemented and developed, right? And I believe specialists on these are high demanded today in the market.
yes, thank you so much for answering, coming the time, taking your time to talk to us in the presentation. It was very nice. Um, so I'm gonna jump into the next speakers.